in the pre-show.
Hello, pre-show. It's the Think Twice Radio Metachewy Livestream pre-show. Looks like we have some delay on the audio.
Oh, let's fix that.
Test.
So we go over. That should fix the...
Test. Yeah, it's lightning fast.
Excellent.
I'm sure my viewers will appreciate it deeply. Thank you. So yeah, today's show, we're going to be doing a couple things. I'll be going through the Buffalo Common Council regular meeting agenda, which was today, Tuesday. So I'm recording this December 10th, 2024. Then, we'll do some Buffalo Bills analysis and Capoeira music. I have a pandero here, which is a tambourine, I guess. But in Capoeira, it's a pandero. So we'll be talking a little bit about that.
Twitch has accepted your stream.
Thank you, Twitch. We appreciate
YouTube has accepted your stream.
Thank you, YouTube. The deities.
Facebook has accepted your stream.
Hello, Facebook universe.
Tell me when you're ready to go on the air by hitting the clapper.
Okay. I'm ready. Hello, Think Twice Radio, and welcome to a live stream event. This is the Metachewy Livestream, I guess. I guess that's what this is. But Metachewy, and we're going to be diving into the Common Council. So I'm going to be recording some content. Really taking inspiration from being the deputy of the Department of Government Efficiency Buffalo, or the City of Buffalo Department of Government Efficiency. Let me dive in first to the Common Council. So I'm recording this December 10th, 2024. So let's switch over to the Common Council agenda. So this is the City of Buffalo Common Council minutes. This is where you can find all the minutes. It's kind of hard to see here, but I think one of the reasons it's hard to find them are essentially the URL is buffalony.iqm2.com, and then with some backslashes. But if you type in buffalony.iqm2.com, that'll bring you to the website. So, I guess also this is a good time to show that I actually dogebuffalo.com. So I have built a website of dogebuffalo.com. So it's very early stages of development. But if you go to dogebuffalo.com, we got a URL. So we have the sheepdog there. And we'll be hopefully over time putting minutes. So this is the very, very earliest iteration of dogebuffalo.com. But we've got a URL, and you can go to dogebuffalo.com. And if you click on right here, Council Minutes, that has the link to the actual URL. Hopefully it opens up. But it'll bring you to the meetings agenda. And then usually the way the City of Buffalo Minutes have it is that it's got the upcoming meetings. So right here we have the upcoming meetings. And usually, like today was a council meeting, or today was a meeting. If you actually go down to past meetings, the most recent past meeting. So today, this is today, December 10th, 2024. So this is today's agenda. And if you go in here, it's got, agenda, journal, summary, proceedings. So summary is kind of, I think it has like the votes if you actually click on the summary. So different, I guess the only one, at least for now, we could talk about is the agenda, which is, let's click on this normal link. But this will bring us to a page that has all the items. So the way a Buffalo Common Council meeting is structured, so it's got this agenda. And once you get on here, essentially the Common Council just goes through these order by order. So the first thing on the agenda was the mayor had 2 memorandums. So he, to have, again, these were the recently terminated or relieved of their duties positions. So the commissioner of the Department of Administration, Finance, Policy, and Urban Affairs. So Raymore Nosworthy, who was in the department, just got lifted up to be the acting, essentially, in short, call him the finance commissioner. But that was Delano Dowell, who was relieved of his duties Another is the acting director of real estate. So I think this Y. Bailey, I think is Yvonne Bailey, but they were, let's see who the acting director is. But if you click on these links, it'll bring you to, you got to click around, but this one, let's see. Yeah, Yvonne Bailey as the acting director. So that's the Officers of Strategic Planning. So the Officer of Strategic Planning was also the other department that has had some recent reshuffling with the acting mayor. So essentially, it's just the acting mayor. I mean, there's people that are in the past administration that it's, yeah, the first thing I think he's doing is just relieving people that of their duties that have been in positions for a very long time. So kind of putting his own stamp on the administration. Then we go through just some general items here. I think the next one of note is the controller. So the mayor files and the controller, they filed item 24-2038, which is the annual comprehensive financial report. So if you click on here, essentially the controller, issues a financial report. So if you go in here and click, I think this is important to know because this is something that's kind of a duty of the controller to produce. So let's see if we can get this opened up here. So yeah, the City of Buffalo annual comprehensive financial report. So this is for the fiscal year ending 2024. Let's cycle through here. So yeah, this is just, I mean, the financials, and I have to dive deep into here, but I think these are, ever important documents, especially as the city is heading into, a financial crisis. So this isn't a document of note, just something that's out there. But I think one of the things going on in the city right now is, we'll see a later item that the comptroller, or not the controller, the Common Council essentially adopted the capital budget. So let's keep going through here. So item 10, which looked like this was a late file. So this means I think that this was filed after the deadline, which I don't want to say if it's malicious or not, but usually, I mean, right, the later you file it, if it's a late file that is not on the full agenda for, this agenda gets posted Thursday, so it's 4 days before. So the less days that it's out there, sometimes, I don't want to say it's malicious, but sometimes late filing something can be something malicious to kind of keep things out of the public eye. But this is important. So this was a discussion in the council chambers, and the capital budget is essentially just kind of funding infrastructure. So there was a amended essentially capital budget, and it appears to me that the Common Council has adopted kind of the amended budget, which is, there's kind of a power struggle in City Hall between the mayor and the comptroller and the Common Council, because the controller has essentially expressed concerns of raising the capital budget. So just some general things. Another one that was interesting was this item 24-2050, permission to enter into a contract with Data Miner. So that is a contract with the police department. Essentially, from glancing at it, it looked like it's a software that helps the police. Essentially, it looks like it integrates social media feeds, is kind of at least what I saw. Like, so I would think, so kind of integrating publicly available data sets to, it's marketed as to help the police. It's a police software. So I think I'm always kind of skeptical of maybe the efficiency or how effective these. Anytime the police enter into a software contract, I think that was one of my biggest experiences at City Hall. Is like the police, they don't really have many software or like tech people on force, right? It's a lot of officers. I mean, there are a few people, but just based on my experience with the SAS Institute contract, I'm always kind of skeptical, and I would love a little more transparency on that. But yeah, that it was a software that was on today's agenda. Then some appointments in the fire department, food store licenses. Looks like there was the 514 memorial, so the American Rescue Plan subrecipient agreement. Some appointments for clerks, parking, some vehicles. Let's see what else is up here. I think so this notice of appointment, so temporary, provisional, permanent employees. These are all civil service, which I think is the civil service system is ripe for discussion around efficiencies and getting more efficiencies. I know personnel costs are a larger percentage of the city budget. So let's go see more seasonal appointments, which I think are like seasonal. And I guess I'd like to talk about this item. So 24-2095. I'm Austin, SAS Institute Use of Force data set. So I am I'm Austin there. So I did file an item with the Common Council around SAS Institute Use of Force data set. So in item 24-2095, I wrote a letter. So if you click on this link, 28-Watson-V-Buffalo, so that's kind of a nod to a number in a lawsuit that was filed by the city. So the Bureau whistleblower, Nona Watson, there's an item in there that the city of Buffalo is paying an IT worker, so an employee in the that works for the current director of or the chief innovation officer. The city was paying an employee with allegedly with CDBG, so Community Development Block Grant dollars, and using that to inappropriately pay a city employee, which I don't think the city employee had any knowledge of, but it was more of, again, who was on the back end managing payroll. So kind of that's the name of the link, and I guess I can read this letter. So here we go. So I wrote a letter of Dear Acting Mayor Scanlon and members of the Buffalo Common Council. 1 year ago, on December 6, 2023, I was removed from a public meeting upon request by the Office of Strategic Planning's Chief Innovation Officer, Kirk McLean. I attended the meeting intending to ask one question. Why have the results of the City of Buffalo SAS Institute contract not been made public? Results have still not been made public, and today I changed that. Attached, you will find the use of force dataset, which I obtained via FOIL request, used by the SAS Institute to power the city's use of force dashboard. Upon belief in his FOIL response, Mr. McLean, the city's SAS project manager, perverted the dataset from a CSV file into a 1,343-page PDF document to obstruct analysis. Sincerely, Matthew Austin. So this was a letter that I wrote, and I think, so here's the letter that I just read. And then attached to this letter, I provided some links. So I have some other items, so a couple items referencing the SAS contract. So in short, the SAS contract was something after the murder of George Floyd. The city of Buffalo, as part of their police reform agenda, data point 10, data transparency, they entered into this contract that was $2.2 million, and the results have never been made public. So this is the data set that I sent a FOIL request for. And then also a link to the, so if you go to this URL, this data.buffalo New York .gov URL, this will bring you to the 4 payments that the SAS Institute, or the City of Buffalo made to the SAS Institute. So this is kind of an overview, or here's, a view of, this is the CSV data set. And yeah, this is a 1,340 page PDF document that the city's chief innovation officer sent me. So I believe he had a CSV file. And CSV is just comma separated value, which is kind of Excel. It's like an Excel sheet format, which is easy to manipulate. This appears that it was transferred or turned in from a CSV file, which is easy to kind of use and analyze, into a PDF document. And PDF documents are kind of, they're for making kind of dumb documents. So it's very hard to analyze this data. And this is all like use of force incidents on the police department. So this had information about things like, you can see here, like the rank of the officer, their race, gender, and then kind of some of the natures of the altercations, and the race of the person in the use of force incident. So I just wanted to put it out there just because, it's something, it just felt, especially a year ago today, I was thrown out of a public meeting by the city's chief innovation officer because I was he felt threatened by my presence, and I was not a threat to anyone. I just wanted to get information on the City SAS Institute contract. And the results of that have never been made public, but I'm hoping by me making this data public, either maybe someone else will file a FOIL request or, it's out there. And I think now that the data's out there, it would be great if, data wizards more advanced than me could make use of it and maybe analyze it. Because I think when you pay $2.2 million of taxpayer monies, talk about efficiency, not only getting this 1,300 page PDF is not a good investment of public dollars. So that's item 24-2095. And essentially the Common Council, they received and filed that item. So that item is now no longer, so it doesn't get forwarded, but it's on the record. So it's helpful, I think, as we build a case of the SAS Institute and just leave a paper trail. When you think about auditing, right? Now we have a paper trail. We have an item number 24-2095, which is the SAS Institute use of force data set. So that now that item can now be referenced in future items if we so choose to continue to audit. And I think, that's one of the reasons I'm so excited about the City of Buffalo Department of Government Efficiency. Is just I really feel we're entering kind of a golden age of auditing. You can think of it right, the fact that we have the internet, we have technology, and we have a bunch of people and citizens. Right, there's lots of concerned citizens that now can be ears and eyes, and I think just it's something I think the administration has in City Hall has tried to sweep under the rug is the actual intricacies of the city's SAS contract, and there's been no accountability in anywhere really within City Hall, and I think maybe just by making that public, we can do some sort of open audit or just bring attention to it, because I don't think it's gotten any light at all. So let's move on. There was a proposed resolution on an arms embargo. So item 24-2098, this MHARTA proposed resolution on arms embargo. So this is an example of the Common Council. They use the excuse a lot that they can't really issue statements or on things that don't relate, but then they'll accept. I'm not saying good or bad, but I think this is an example of the Common Council can be asked to support or whatever many different subjects. That was the SECRA. The Urban Think Tank of Buffalo. So they look like they filed a reevaluation of the bus patrol program. So they had spoken earlier at another council, and I think, they knew the subject for sure of the actual City of Buffalo, the bus patrol, which I think is just getting children. So whether it's K through 18, getting them to and from school, and I know, the actual busing is an issue. I mean, whether it's a shortage of buses or actually safety, but I think that's something I've seen that I'm not completely familiar with what's going on, but I know that it's an issue within the city. Look, we had Frontline Arts Buffalo concerned with the American Rescue Plan frontline organizations, and some petitions, and looks like a civil service clerk. So this Perm Marks, I don't know if Marks, that's the city clerk. I don't know if they're related, but to Tiana Marks, who is the city clerk. But look, there was a permanent appointment to the traffic agency clerk. Let's see what else is on here. I think not all these. I mean, that's the thing. It's kind of hard for any individual to keep their arm around all these items, right? These are all city things. I'm just trying to really pick out the important ones that I think are important. I think, one of the things as I was watching today's meeting is just how unprepared, I won't say all, but some of the council members. I mean, you have council members kind of, some of them, right? I'm not going to say all of them. I'm not going to name, but some of the council members, you can tell they haven't done any research, haven't read many of the items. Many of them will kind of just make basic comments. Oh, I'm reading this for the first time now, or don't know anything about it. And not to say all, there's definitely some more involved council members. Yeah, we have 9 council members, but they definitely are not all equal. And you can kind of tell, right? It's like a teacher or someone seeing, a final rehearsal and telling that some of the members of the team have not practiced at all, and that's definitely frustrating. So I think let's talk about item 29. So 24-17. Sorry, hopefully it didn't end there, but accidentally I have a stream deck here. I don't know if you can see, but essentially this click pad, I clicked the fade to black button, which is the wrong button. So but yeah, this is VIN 2. Let's go back to VIN 9, which is the actual desktop view. So yeah, this item number 29, 24-17A2, Halton Pope Bowman. So you had the Ellicott, the Lovejoy, and the Fillmore council members, a bunch of them. And this was a major topic, was actual short-term rentals. So short-term rentals are really like Airbnbs, right? So people that buy houses in the city in residential areas and then are turning them into short-term rentals or Airbnbs. And this is really contributing. I think one of the major issues, and I think the mayor's race, right, is another topic. But I think one of the issues that's emerging in the mayor's race is really housing. That's going to be a major. It's a major issue in the city, and it's definitely emerging as a major theme in the 2025 mayoral election. So, actual housing, right? And short-term rentals is contributing to it, right? So instead of houses being used as, right, there's a house is a house, but using a house as an Airbnb and using a house as an apartment, right? They both generate revenue for the owner, but right, the more Airbnbs we have in units, it means less that those units are being rented. So one of the issues, right, in housing is simple. It's supply and demand, right? So there's a supply of housing and demand for housing. And if one of those things, right, those are the two levels, right, the crossing. So Airbnbs are a problem in housing because they decrease supply, right? So houses being used as short-term rentals or Airbnbs are houses that are not being used to live in, whether that's renting or owning. But there's a difference between a resident and someone renting an Airbnb. And housing is very fixed, right? We have a very old housing stock, and there's not a lot of housing being built. So you have a relatively fixed supply that's actually slowly decreasing, whether it's through dilapidation or demolition. But that's become popular. I mean, I think one reason that it's becoming popular is, right, it's an alternative towards renting to a tenant. There's certain advantages to that. And one of the reason this was a big issue at today's council members, just it's not really regulated at all. So you have there's laws on the book of that Airbnb or short-term rentals, right? You're supposed to get permits, and there's a whole host of practices in the city. And you can tell through this topic that many of the council members, but only in select districts, are having this be a major issue in lots of council districts. So it's not evenly distributed through the city. Some areas are seeing this worse. I think one area that's always frequent references, the West Side, or anywhere, right? It's really going on a lot more, and I think some of the council members are definitely more passionate. One of the things that was interesting about this whole discussion is that essentially they were proposing adopting a resolution that all the council members would vote on, but it would allow each council member to not have to essentially rescind that resolution being applied in their district. So I don't even know the legalities if they can set boundaries, but essentially it looked like they were trying to, the question there was a moratorium on certain first-time home. So the special use permits, and I think the city does have the responsibility. Let's see if I can read this. So here's the resolution. So this is the short-term rental resolution. So it says essentially it's resolving three things. So it says, now therefore, it be resolved that the Buffalo Common Council hereby impose an immediate temporary moratorium for the granting of first-time non-owner occupied short-term rental special use permits in zones N 2R residential, N 3R residential, N 430 single family, and N 450 single family in the city of Buffalo, subject to the exceptions below. This halt will remain in effect until March 1st, 2025. So really what right, this language, and it's very wonky, but when they talk about this N2R residential, N3R residential, these are just different zoning. So every parcel in the city of Buffalo has a zoning classification, right? So typically like residential, which is where people live, commercial, where there's business, industrial, where things are made. Then you have all different gradients of that, right? So you have different levels of single family. So a way the kind of the code is set up is that, I mean, there's transitional zones, so there's different tiers to, right? The Elmwood Village might be one type of residential, and you might have a strip mall somewhere else, and those all get kind of different residential grades. But essentially what they're doing is they're applying a temporary moratorium on certain properties, so certain types of properties. So it looks like they're here focusing specifically on the residential. So, right, if you live in a house in a neighborhood, most of those parcels are zoned residential. It doesn't allow commercial, right? Commercial things are, right, you wouldn't want a factory plant next to your house or a small scale factory on a parcel. So it looks like they're applying it. The interesting part here is subject to the exceptions below. So then after this, it announced a couple exceptions. So this immediate temporary moratorium shall not apply to 1, the renewal of any previously granted non-owner occupied short-term rental lease, 2, any first-time application for a non-owner occupied short-term rental special unit use permit where the owner of the rental property resides on the same block as or within 1,000 feet of the rental property, or any application for an owner-occupied short-term rental special use permit. So they've essentially carved out these things, and I think this was an earlier, so this was an actual amendment that was filed on October 29th, and this was really, they did, I think later on, actually amend some language. So essentially they're trying to, and I think one of the things they changed the language from this 1,000 feet to City of Buffalo. Let me see if I can find the actual, so essentially they amended the amendment. They changed the language of the, of what they adopted. So here's the amended short-term rental. So yeah, here's the actual changed language. So they changed, they deleted the 1,000 property and added within the city of Buffalo. Then it adds also reserves the right for each council member to exempt their elective district from the mandate of this resolution at any time upon request to the council. I don't even know if that's technically legal. So essentially, they're issuing let's see, breathe, right? Goosefraba, breathe. They're ordering a moratorium on certain short-term rentals, but then at the same time, they're adding this language that reserves the right for. So each council member is exempt from can exempt their elective district from the mandate of this resolution at any time. So they're trying to issue a citywide moratorium that then each council member, each council can opt out of without, at their own discretion. So it's very interesting. I don't even know if it's legal. I mean, there apparently is, but yeah, it's interesting to think of it. And you could tell definitely certain council members are having bigger issues in some of their districts than others. So I think it was a way for them to adopt legislation, but also giving the cover. And I think Councilmember Golombek from the North region, he immediately opted out. So I think it's a way for kind of, right, Golombek is pretty entrenched in the North. So I think he wouldn't want any part of it because at this point it's just flying under the radar. So I think this is now a way that any council member who's getting active requests or active complaints can then weaponize or not weaponize, it's maybe not the right language, but they can use it to show their constituents they've done something, but at the same time residents, right, issues where this isn't a huge issue, so districts where this isn't a huge issue, those council members can then opt out, and then they don't have people calling them because they're angry because they have to get permits. But essentially kind of the crux of this whole issue is that, right, legislation is great, we can put rules, we can put language down on paper, but I know one of the issues especially is that the city doesn't have the capacity to fully, or that's kind of right, the going, right, the culture, and just it's kind of, we're entrenched in this system of the Department of Permanent Inspection doesn't have capacity, right? That's the kind of the just general consensus. There's no capacity to properly inspect all the laws, which right? And there certainly is a vein of truth there. I think just one thing I experienced, I think that, right, DPIS, essentially they have inspectors that are assigned to entire census tracts and multiple census tracts. And census tracts are like large swaths of areas. And yeah, it's hard because, right, the city has the duty and the right to enforce the laws, but at the same time, they don't necessarily have the desire or capacity to implement the way things are currently run there. And I think, right, it's an issue because permits and inspections, permits and fees is a way that the city could generate revenue. So when we talk about efficiency, it's a way that the city could be generating revenue is through fees and permitting. In fact, it is a way that the city generates revenue. I think it's interesting when you think of revenue generation, right? What fees are we charging and for what? Short-term rentals, I think, it could be a popular, right? Especially when you think of homeowners. Homeowners are the voters. Homeowners carry the burden of the tax burden. It's an issue that, right, I think one of the problems with the short-term rentals too is it's a lot of the short-term rentals and Airbnbs are not necessarily, a homeowner. I mean, it's right, there are, so, but in large, the short-term rentals are not homeowners that own a second house right next door and rent that out. It's usually out-of-town investors. So, and some of the language in here that they changed to within the city, I think, is good because it gives a little more flexibility. But, right, the main issue, and I think the thing that all Buffalonians would be agree on is that if out-of-town investors, right, so someone that they could live in Cheektowaga, but not necessarily Cheektowaga, they could live in Florida, they could live in Beijing, they could live somewhere not in the city. But if we have out-of-town investors that don't live there and don't, I think one of the things here is a property manager, but yeah, don't live in the city, right? They're paying, they could be paying their tax, or maybe they're not, but they're paying, right? They're extracting kind of resources out of city of residents' pockets. So if someone's renting and paying rent to an out-of-town landlord, that money is, right, going out of town. So I think that's agreement. We don't want out-of-town part, right? We want, it's around housing. So it's around, we want houses to be used to, one, for city of residents to use it as short-term rentals if they so choose, but also for city of Buffalo residents to use as housing to rent. We prefer that over, right, an Airbnb for an out-of-town inventor. So it's interesting. We need legislation. I think one of the things the moratorium does is essentially, you heard some of the council talking about it, but this is kind of, the moratorium is just puts a pause on all new things, because I think the exact language is that legislation moves slowly. And again, that's kind of just the culture of it moves slowly, but yeah, if things were different, you could be more quickly. But yeah, I think this just gives the council time, and it's an issue. It's been an issue. There's just really never been the political will to finally do something about it. And I think now, right, housing is just becoming such an issue, and this would be helpful, right? Because then by making permitting of out of town, right, it's not, you can't infringe completely on someone out of town to use their right, but you can definitely do things like fees. So generate fees from those out of town investors and speculators. I mean, a lot of speculators, but a lot of, yeah, property investments. And if we have even entities like, I mean, part of the housing crisis, not just in Buffalo, is nationally, is that housing has turned into, it's moved away from not just something, and it is something, right? It's something that all human beings need in order to live a quality life. You need quality housing, safe, affordable, quality housing. And just the kind of the culture is turned to the point where housing is really an investment. It's a financial investment, which is not, right. Housing is, but it's also not, it's different than a stock or a way to make money. And I think that's kind of the right. The cultural issue is that just culturally in America, a house is kind of used as a financial asset. So, I mean, I think just nationally you see large corporations. So whether it's BlackRock or investment banks owning houses as financial tool rather than, right, a place for working people to raise a family or live comfortably and hold their own domain. So that was definitely a major topic at the council meeting today. think just that item, and I think the language on the amendment, that was really much of the discussion, right? There's hundreds of items, but that item took particularly the most time on the Common Council. Let's see. I think the last thing I want to talk about is, let's see here. So 24-2127. So Halton Pope. So again, here's another late file, but another issue that was big was the Bureau regarding the closure of Braemiller. So the Braemiller Market, which was the City of Buffalo's only downtown grocery store, that the City of Buffalo really led as it through forgivable loans, and also it was kind of like the mayor's vision to have a downtown grocery store, which much of the language there at the closing was that it was due to external factors, which was true, right? We had that project was led before the pandemic, and the pandemic really made remote work way more popular and made it the norm, and that affected downtown. That now you didn't have city hall workers, or not just city hall workers, but workers in general going downtown, so there was just left customer base, which was true, but I think there was also just general consensus. I know the residents that live next door, they had filed a petition, or like using a price gouging, which I don't know if it was price gouging, but it was definitely, that store was not built for, it was just built for a class of people that no longer was there for the pandemic. So a lot of it was overpriced luxury goods. It was not a place where, in a city that has, a large, working class, that the median income is not, it's not that of a white collar working professional. A lot of the goods there were just, it wasn't a place where you could do your weekly or even daily groceries. So that was an interesting item or just topic. And then I think the other one I want to talk about is this. So yeah, then there's a capital improvement, which is again another important issue. Let's talk briefly about item 24-2123. So Wyatt, this was the university council member. He's requesting a financial efficiency study to address the City of Buffalo's financial challenge. So this is an interesting, especially with the backdrop of council member Rashid Wyatt, who's the university council member. So the university is kind of by UB South campus, but he's announced his campaign for mayor, which is, it's interesting, right? You have 9 council members, but Wyatt at this point is really the only person that's really actively he's playing kind of the watchdog role in the council, which is needed, right? There's a lot of lack of urgency, or a lack of, just Wyatt is kind of the lone dissenter on the council, which is good in many cases. And I think, we'll see. It just adds an extra element of, now that you have a council member who's on the council running as mayor, but not running the mayor because, look, I'm part of the council, kind of running I'm on the council, but I'm anti-council. And I don't even know, he's got an interesting lane because, right, he's on the council. He's got the bully pulpit of being a council member. There are major issues. He can adopt issues that are in reality popular, but, cannot be said in the council chambers. And one is this study for efficiency. So an efficiency study. So he's formally requested that the acting mayor Scanlon, the acting mayor could be his potential opponent in the upcoming mayor's race. So he's asked the acting mayor to commission a financial efficiency study to assess the City of Buffalo's financial practices and identify areas for improvement. And then also request that the administration and finance department, the mayor's office, and the controller include in the study an evaluation of departmental expenditures and operations, revenue generation strategies, and potential new revenue sources, opportunities for interdepartmental collaboration and consolidation, and cost-benefit analysis of current programs and initiatives, recommendations for long-term fiscal sustainability and efficiency. So that's interesting. I think, he's requesting essentially an efficiency study. And then request that the mayor's office and the Department of Admin and Finance allocate necessary funding for the study to coordinate with qualified financial consulting firms to ensure its timely and comprehensive completion. And forward, direct that the findings and recommendations for the financial efficiency study be filed and presented to the Buffalo Common Council and made publicly accessible to ensure transparency and accountability. Direct the city clerk to forward copies of this resolution to the mayor, the controller, and the Department of Administration and Finance. So this is very interesting. agenda. So you can already see maybe potential council member wide of adopting financial efficiency as his platform, which is something we desperately need. So I think this calls for the Buffalo Department of Government Efficiency. This seems right up our alley of maybe I'll consider as an auditor for the Department of Government Efficiency to commence an audit report or a financial efficiency report. I think this is something that we need new ways of thinking, especially city finances and efficiencies. And a lot of the solutions are going to come from, right? And I think they're going to come from outside people. So not just myself, but other people that are interested, right? There's a need. There's not a want, but there's a need. And I can say as someone that's, worked from the inside, is there is an embedded culture in City Hall that is the culture that you need culture change within the building. And I think kind of the less you know, the more advantage you have in certain ways. If you can challenge certain conventional ways of thinking, and the conventional ways of thinking have got us into a position in really, I mean, one of the issues that's going to be emerging here in 2025 is the actual financial, the financials of the city are really going to come into focus. And I think people that are in the know, but I don't know if the average citizen or normal citizen that doesn't pay attention and doesn't know the nuances, it's going to be a shock to them. And I don't want to fear monger, but essentially the way it works is, right, the city has been getting pretty much fixed, relatively stagnant revenues from the state and government. And at the same time, right, costs are increasing. So obviously I don't need to explain, we all go to grocery stores and shopping that we know that our costs are going up. But that's the same thing for government. Everything is becoming more expensive. And right, that hasn't been an issue, and because the past few years the city's been using American Rescue Plan dollars. So we all remember kind of at the pandemic there was the massive production of money and distribution through the federal American Rescue Plan. So the city of Buffalo has been using those dollars to kind of plug holes. But essentially right, there's, from my understanding of revenues, there's state and federal revenues, the city, and then kind of the gap between the operating expenses of the city and right, what we get from state and federal governments is what the city needs to produce in revenue. And that is through the form of the tax burden. So there's going to be a major gap because essentially the expenses of the city, which have been running on the first few years, have been inflated or helped covered by American Rescue Plan dollars. And those dollars run out at the end of this year. So moving forward, there's going to be a massive gap between the cost of the city and how that money is covered. And really the only plan that I can see, and the only one that's really been proposed, and I think was touched on last election of, right, we also saw a tax increase in the city, but this tax increase is going to be extremely substantial. The last one, or this past year's, is not going to really compare. This is going to be, right, so the gap needs to be made up through taxes, and generating taxes on homes is going to be one of them. So I think you're going to see, I think you could project, right, and that's where this whole study of efficiency comes in, is it's I don't know if the culture at City Hall, their only thinking is we need to increase revenues through taxes, when really you're going to need, that is true, right? Raising taxes, and how we do that is something I think that needs to be discussed. And I think one of the issues was that the city for, the longest time, when times were good, or times have never been good, but when times were better, they kept taxes flat. And now kind of, right, we're going from flat to where it was underproducing. Now we need to jump it up, or, right, we're in a situation that we did not need to be, but that's all. It's too late. We can only deal with where we are in the moment. But tax increase is kind of what you can foresee. That's the only solution that's going to be proposed by City Hall. And really, the other end of that equation is cutting costs. So efficiency, this financial efficiency study, is something that is deeply needed by the city. cutting costs is going to be right efficiency. If you're not generating revenues, you can generate more revenues, and we need to do that, but we also need to cut costs. And I think there's a need to substantially and radically rethink the city of Buffalo's finances and how it's run. Things could be much more efficient. And yeah, I think I like this call, and I think the Department of Government Efficiency Buffalo is going to help contribute to financial efficiency in the city of Buffalo, because yeah, there's a financial crisis that's going to be solved through efficiencies and through cost cuttings. And I think the acting mayor, he's kind of, his public statement has been, at least the talking points to his department heads are to 10%. So they're actively looking to slash 10% of the budget, and we'll see. It's an interesting issue that I don't know if any one person entity body is going to solve. It's going to be a lot of different things. It's going to be creative new ways to generate revenue, creative ways to cut costs, and it's going to take a lot of work, and it's going to take ultimately a cultural shift within City Hall and with how the whole city operates. So that was something of note, and I think I think the other thing I want to talk is just, this is all happening kind of in the backdrop of this mayor's race. So in December 5th, the Erie County Democratic Committee, which is essentially the only political party in the city of Buffalo, they held their first forum. So they held a forum for committee members. And at that forum, there was, I think, 7 candidates that were put before them. So they kind of put out an open letter. The Erie ECDC Democratic chairman, who's also the Erie County Board of Elections commissioner, he went on some news outlets and just said that they put out a request. So it was pretty open. Anyone could just have sent a letter to ECDC saying, I'm interested in considering for mayor. Essentially, this forum was not a public forum. It was not for any average Joe, rank and file, city of Buffalo voter could not shut up. It was only for Democratic committee members. So they're starting the process in attempting. I don't know the inner workings of the machine. Well, they definitely have their preferred candidates, but at least they're attempting to put on the facade that there's this open primary. But I think there was a mix of candidates. Yeah, I wasn't there, so I can't speak to who was. But essentially, at this point, the announced candidates that are in the race are Councilmember Wyatt, who's the newest addition. So the University Heights council member is the newest addition. Then you have, State Senator Sean Ryan has announced that he is running. And acting mayor Scanlon is rumored to be, right, he hasn't officially announced, but it's probably pretty sure that he is going to attempt a run at mayor. And then Garnell Whitfield, who is the former City of Buffalo Fire Commissioner, has announced a campaign. And actually, recently he came out and made a statement that he's in the full support of the Kensington Expressway and the full restoration of Humboldt, which is interesting. Yeah, very interesting, because I was I know it's a popular issue, and I think the Humboldt Park restoration is becoming an issue. But he's the first to really differentiate himself by saying this is an issue that I support, which is is a big deal, because right now the city of Buffalo their official position is that the state Kensington project is not a city of Buffalo issue. So you're actually having a mayor who takes the counter position that it is a city of Buffalo and that they support the residents would be a big deal. And we'll see. It's becoming a political issue, but right now the emerging things definitely seem housing, the Kensington Expressway or Humboldt Highway, and then there's a bunch of other fights. But then this financial efficiency or the finances of the city, it may not be an issue as much now as I record this December 2024, but once the new fiscal year starts, and we we have the official budgeting season. So that's going to be, it'll be interesting, because the Democratic primary, which is essentially the election for the mayor's race in November, because we only have one serious political party in the city. That'll be at the backdrop of the whole budgeting season. So it'll be interesting, because that point, that's going to be when I think the average citizen is going to be awakened to, we are really in a financial hole, because I think you're going to have a lot of homeowners with just severe sticker shock when they get their 2025 tax bill. right? Because right now it seems to be the only strategy. And even with this capital bond, I know the controller was voicing concerns on Facebook that the city just took on, right? They spent above their capital bond, and I don't know. I don't know enough about the intricacies, right? They're in meetings and they're the supposed experts. They kept talking about leverage and leveraging dollars, but Councilman Wyatt, he's really the only member too to speak up. But yeah, it's just the financial fight. So yeah, financial, housing, and the Kensington are really the three issues that at this point you can tell are going to be major issues in the mayor's race. So that was a long-winded deep dive into the December 10th, 2024 council meeting. Yeah, that's City of Buffalo Department of Government. Yeah, excited to announce that yeah, we got a domain and we're live. So if you go to dogebuffalo.com, yeah, we'll have an emerging dashboard. This is the first thing. Yeah, we take Dogecoin, so you can send us some Doge. Is appreciated. Okay, so I got 10 minutes here. Let's pivot to some music. So let's try to get an angle here. I don't know if this is... this is probably good. Yeah, we'll adjust this. So I think that works. But yeah, so I think... so yeah, I wanted to do an actual segment on Capoeira music. So Capoeira is a Afro-Brazilian martial art. And that's kind of the general, right? That's the general elevator pitch, is that it's a martial art. But really, I don't think of it as a martial art. I think of it, and it is really more, right? Martial art it's a part of it, but it's also, right? It's a way for Westerners to kind of put a label on it so they can understand it. But it's really a cultural experience too, right? It was a way of preserving culture, and one of the ways that expressed itself was through music. So music is a huge part of Capoeira, in addition to the movements, right? And the philosophies. There's actually the music to it. So I have right here, it's a pandero, or right in Western music, or it's right. Common folk would say this is a tambourine, which is true, but in Capoeira it's a pandero. So the pandero is a really supportive instrument in Capoeira, which in Capoeira there's a bateria, or kind of, right, the performers. But yeah, the pandero is kind of a supportive instrument. So I think for starters, the first thing that I learned was really the rhythm of the pandero in Capoeira. So it's a supportive instrument, but it plays a very simple rhythm, but complex at the same time. So it's at its base, right, when we think of music as 4, or at least in Capoeira and most Western music is 4. So there's 4 beats: 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the pandero really hits a note on 1, 2, 3. So it's kind of a 1, 2, 3 rest, 1, 2, 3 rest, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, with that blank being a rest. So I'll just start with a basic rhythm on the pandero. So that's kind of the very basic rhythm of the pandero, which is, right, yeah, 3, 4. And then sometimes, I mean, that's the bass. That's the first thing to understand, is that is the basic rhythm. If you're doing that, you're doing it right. So just 1, 2, 3, rest, 1, 2, 3, rest, 1, 2, 3, rest, 1, 2, 3, rest. So that's the basic rhythm. And then you can kind of make that more complex, or you can, right, and a lot of things, the next kind of iteration of that is once you get that down, because that can get kind of boring, right? And we're not just robots producing patterns, but you can throw an actual kind of a little dende, or a little spice or energy on that rest note, right? So we have of that 1, 2, 3 rest with, 1, 2, 3 rest, but you could add then a little extra. So instead of you have a, so yeah, essentially you're just filling the rest with a chicka. Chicka. That's very basically all you need to really know. There's levels to it, and there's way more levels that even I understand that you could get into crazy stuff with the actual. I think one is like a yeah. I mean, you can get into the chica, but yeah. For all, we'll just start with that for now. But that's the very basic. Yeah, it plays a supportive role in the bateria. So that's the pandero, and then essentially, right in capoeira, a big thing is the instruments which make the rhythm, but also the singing. So there's many capoeira songs that range um, a whole different gamut of topics. Uh, and yeah, so one song I wanted to sing, and maybe I'll be doing this more frequently, but trying to sing an actual capoeira song. So the one I wanted to sing today was A Bananeira Caiu. So A Bananeira Caiu is a song about, from my understanding, and I'm not Portuguese, but my understanding of what I've learned, or my understanding of what the song is about, A Bananeira Caiu is about a banana tree. It's about cutting banana trees. So I think a bananera is a banana tree, and then caiu is cutting. So, and yeah, bananera in capoeira is actually a movement. So a bananera in capoeira is a handstand. So yeah, but it's also right. If you're in Brazil, it's actually a banana tree is an actual thing. I'm recording this in Buffalo, New York. We don't have banana trees here. We go to the store and buy bananas. But yeah, in Brazil they're actually banana trees. So culturally, and it's relevant in that it was an actual thing. So there's a song about it. And I think the one difference between in capoeira, a bananera of a handstand, right? Western, and what I've kind of learned is a gymnastic handstand is very rigid, right? It's a very hold your line and be steady and straight. Whereas bananera, right? They observed the bananera tree and took inspiration. So the bananera, the capoeira handstand, is supposed to model a bananera, actual banana tree. And a banana tree is very windy and bendy and flexible, right? It gets wind gusts and it moves, but it's staying upright. So as you get higher levels of bananera, you appreciate them more. Yes, holding it, being strong, but also being. And you'll see some of the mestres that they can do bananeras with complete control, and they're super bendy, and it's unbelievable. So I wanted to sing here a song, A Bananera Caiu. So it's a capoeira song again about banana trees and cutting banana trees down. So yeah, here's A Bananera Caiu with a pandero rhythm. And yeah. Kai, 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 bananeira, a bananeira caiu. 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 Yeah, the abana, I mean, I'm one person singing it by myself, but traditionally, the Abananera Caiu would be the chorus. So you'd have one person singing Kai 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 or Cut 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 a banana tree, and then the chorus would be Abananera Caiu. So really, if we were in a real life situation where I'm singing that song, I wouldn't be singing Abananera Caiu. That would be on you. But for demonstration purposes, I recorded it that way. So that's A Bananera Caiu, a capoeira song about a banana tree. And one thing I'm excited is that in the new year, the Buffalo Capoeira group, we've secured a temporary, we don't know how temporary, but we've secured a space to at least have a next iteration of our capoeira group. So because of insurance liabilities, I'm not privy to tell you now, but look out for announcements in the new year, because we need some more energy and people in capoeira, not just in Buffalo, but all around the world. So let's do a final segment. Let's do a Buffalo Bills analysis. So I think the biggest takeaway from the last game against the Rams, I kind of caught the first half and just got the vibes of where it was going. So I tuned out at halftime, but kind of wish I had tuned in just to see the epic Josh Allen performance. So again, here's Josh Allen being MVP. So he lost the game, and he somehow improved his case. So he had a monster fantasy game as a Josh Allen first-round draft pick owner. I love being vindicated, but he He scored 51 fantasy points, which is actually the most fantasy points ever from a quarterback, which I think was like going back, yeah, literally forever. He was the first quarterback to ever throw for 3 and run for 3, pass for 3 and run for 3 touchdowns in the same game. Passed for, I think it was 300 plus yards, ran for 80 plus yards. So yeah, just an unbelievable performance. And yeah, the Bills lost. And I think the analysis there is perfect trap game, right? We just won the AFC East, flying cross country, which is always hard. And then playing a Rams team that is, getting healthy, has some excellent players, right? Matt Stafford is a Hall of Famer. Puka Nakua was incredible, right? Cooper Cooks, they were just cooking and they're playing for something. And I think the analysis there is that, that's kind of the difference right now between, right? And Bills fans might grunt and muck that, oh, the Chiefs are getting lucky, but the Chiefs win, right? They just win every week. They don't have hiccup games. They don't have trap games. And when they do, they just find a way to win by 2 points. And it's kind of different. So at least at this point, it looks like the Chiefs will be the 1 seed, or are now really in the driver's seat, which is not necessarily bad, right? It's the playoffs, and you're gonna have to beat the Chiefs. Whether we couldn't beat them at home last year, maybe we can pull it off on the road. But that's the analysis. And now this week against the Lions, right? I hope, right, if there is justice in the universe, we will get a Bills Lions Super Bowl. So yeah, that'll be a preview, and we'll see. You never know. It's a long season, but that's the biggest takeaway. I don't think there's anything to get worried about. We're just in a era now where it's just about taking. It's all about the playoffs, and where we got a playoff ticket. So if you got a ticket, you got a chance. And I'm not the New York Lottery, but yeah, hopefully this is our year. But don't get too excited. So yeah, that's the Metachewy live stream. Drop a comment, and till next time. Thanks for tuning in.